Cool. We are live. All right. Thank you everyone for coming to our first portfolio meetups, portfolio review sessions in the Design Buddies community. This event will be recorded and you'll find the link in our YouTube as well afterwards as well, so you can go back and view anytime. I'm Grace, and I founded Design Buddies on April 10th of 2020. So we're almost at our 1-year birthday. We actually have a 1-year birthday celebration coming up next weekend as well. And I can drop the link in the chat later so y'all can find it too. But yeah, this is our first time kind of testing out the Discord platform for events. So we might run into some technical difficulties along the way, but this is all a learning opportunity as well. And thank you all for submitting our portfolios. Maggie will be leading the event, so she has 6 portfolios we've chosen queued up, and she'll be sharing her screen, and all of our admins and moderators and everyone who consented will be giving you feedback. And in the chat, feel free, if you're the one chosen, feel free to let us know like any details, like are you using this to apply for like an internship or a job, or any specific questions you have. And also, as always, please follow Design Buddies on all our social media platforms. We post a lot of great content on our LinkedIn. We have some great content creators as well, and Instagram content as well. And yeah, for that said, let's get started. Oh yes, the stream is live on YouTube. Thank you all. Thank you, Ashar, for dropping that link in the chat. But yeah, feel free to connect with each other, meet each other, connect with your fellow buddies. And yeah, with that, I'll pass the mic on to Maggie.
summary of who you are, right? If you like, Pena, graphic designer, I have X years of experience, and this is what I bring to the field. And then a few quick studies, and then allow somebody to kind of jump into whatever they want to see.
Yeah, I agree with that point, and I also want to double down a little bit because I I feel like I would rather just be able to see the whole, like see the multiple images at once, see the whole thing, instead of having to kind of hover over all of them individually in order to be able to actually see the work. Again, to me, it's about just highlighting the content as quickly and as clearly as possible instead of having to make me take a lot of extra steps to be able to see larger, full scale images that I can start really thinking about and evaluating.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree on that. I have mixed feelings on interactions kind of like this as well, just because they're a little bit confusing in terms of what exactly am I supposed to um, jump into. I think even having some sort of grid like this kind of allows somebody to quickly skim over um, to allow them to kind of just, one, get a glance of your work, two, if they really wanted to like dig into a specific design, then they can definitely click.
Yeah, I think from a storytelling perspective, it makes the order of things less obvious.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
it's not 100% clear where I'm supposed to start and what what necessarily comes first, what comes last. And I think, like other people have said, you just need to tell the story of these projects a lot more clearly. Like for this one that Maggie's on right now, these kind of like flat vector illustrations. I don't really have a good idea of what the context of them is. Like, were they used in posters? Were they for social media? Like, what are they for, and what problem are they solving for um, for whoever you were working for? Because solving problems is not just a user experience perspective; it's an all design perspective, right? As a graphic designer, you're solving communication problems. So you want to highlight just in the same way that someone with, someone designing an app is maybe solving navigation problems or interaction problems. You want to highlight the way that you're solving communication problems and helping to add clarity and, again, better the communication of whoever you're doing these for.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you. That makes sense. I'm probably gonna watch this one more time to follow all the tips that you mentioned. I also had a question like regarding like what the best platform to use to, let's say, create the um, website, because I'm not very happy with you know the platform I've used for this, and I'm planning on starting making my other portfolio from scratch. So
Sure.
do you have any tips regarding that?
So as a person who constantly changes her portfolio, like, I'm not getting like every year and a half. It's almost horrible. I do this to myself. I would say that all platforms have their pros and cons. I've definitely used Wix before. I think the thing that I've kind of learned from is that don't be afraid of templates and just tweaking them to kind of personalize them, because they provide a good foundation and a good starting point. I think when you literally start from scratch, I think that's where you kind of shoot yourself in the foot, because you're starting to focus away from what you should be focusing, which is the content in your portfolio. You shouldn't be focusing on the platform itself.
Okay, thank you.
Host, do you have any other thoughts, comments, or something that you want me to click onto before we move on? Alright, I'll take silence as a no. Next up we have Odalis. I think, hopefully I'm saying that right. Odalis, are you with us today? And am I saying your name right? Perhaps not. Alright. Let's circle back to this one. If not, let's move on to Rachel. Rachel, are you with us today? Alright. Hello, Rachel. Go ahead, give us the spiel. What are you looking for? What type of roles are you aiming for? And what type of feedback are you hoping to get? And feel free to unmute yourself or type it in the chat. Alright, last couple of semesters of graphic design school, alright. Rachel, looks like you're able to speak if you want to speak up.
Oh.
Hey, can you
Hello.
hear me? Hello.
So I'm really looking for like a summer internship right now, but I'd like this to function beyond that for, future junior positions or freelance with some tweaking.
Yeah, anything? Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you want us to kind of focus on?
I guess this kind of was a recent kind of quote-unquote rebranding of myself, kind of a wear many hats sort of theme that I was going for. I'm not sure if it's totally clear though, or if it makes sense. And then also, what kind of work I should be focusing on having. I mean, mostly right now it's a lot of branding stuff, but...
Sure. Cool. All right, hosts, anybody wants to jump in first?
Yeah, I'll start first. So on the landing page, I noticed that like the background is like very red, and then the rest of the text is like white. While that's a good contrast, I'm just kind of afraid because the background color is so strong, if it will like drive people away. One case is that when I started out in design for one of like my iterations of my portfolio website, I had my background color was like purple and then the text is all white. And when I laid it out with like there's websites and software tools where you can see like the color contrast if it meets like accessibility standards, and it did not meet that. So I would just check to make sure that the like white on red meets color contrast. And also don't be afraid to experiment with different shades of red. Like for me, I was like really set on like this one shade of like purple that I have, but since I knew that like my purple on white wouldn't be easy to read for some people, I experimented with like different shades of red, and you could do that for your website as well. Maybe making it like a lighter red or like a salmon tone color. So that's one thing that I have to share.
Okay, I did wonder if it was like burning people's retinas. It's a little bright.
I actually really like it, but I agree that maybe you need to just double check the shade.
Well, as a designer perspective, I'm in branding, and I love the color, but I think you need to tone it down a little bit by using other like neutral colors. So like if I'm looking through your portfolio, I don't want to see a red background because then it interferes with your work. And if I'm looking at a project, I don't want to see a red background because it might be like contrasting with the work that you're showing. Usually designers use like tones that aren't very vibrant for a background, like black, grays, neutral tones, when they're showing their work, just because then you can highlight the work. And I was also looking at your projects, and I love some of your work. It's just I want to see like more information about them. Like I go to like one of your portfolio pieces, which is the Bloody Book Club, and I don't know what some of these, like I know there's some motion graphics, but like I don't know what some of these like mediums are. Like a good thing if you're a graphic designer is to show like what are these for? Like are these like social media? Is this for like a poster? Like I see some great motion graphics, which is great. And then just explaining like a little bit of your process and like what you know, what your challenges are. Like I love to see sketches. I love to see like how your process, like how did you get there? Like and I feel like a lot of designers, especially me, like I need to work on that, like showing process work, because we're always like scared to show like low fidelity things like sketches and stuff. And also like no, just what did you want to say?
I was just gonna say, how's the navigation? Because I know I have like my Instagram feed there in the bottom, but my actual like portfolio work is navigated at the top. Should I switch that up? Like, is that not obvious enough?
That's actually something I was going to point out, is that I had absolutely no idea that the Instagram feed was not just your work. Like I completely ignored that top navigation, again, because I want to scroll down and see the content. And I felt like it took a little bit too long. Like I was scrolling through all of this explanation about yourself when honestly I want to see that you do good work first, and then I want to see that you're like a cool person that I want to engage with, right? But the work quality has to be there for hiring as kind of the first thing, in my opinion. So to me, that's the thing that you want to highlight. You don't necessarily have to do it first, right? Like again, I like the kind of underline and providing all the different explanations about who you are, like kind of that top category. But then after that, if it could get to the work, and then after that, I can choose to engage more with who you are, you're about, the information about you. It's like you're putting your whole about me before the work. And again, I assumed, like I was going to say, why are you linking all your work back to Instagram? I literally didn't even realize that there was a different tab I was supposed to navigate to.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I kind of took a preview on this one, and the idea of having that line be filled up, right? That's kind of what I was expecting over here, to be honest. I wish you would integrate that so that you don't have all this text taking up so much space. Again, real estate is just so important when it comes to portfolio work. And I agree with Ben in the sense that it just takes too long to kind of get into your work, and that's usually what people want to kind of get to as quick as possible. And I don't know whether all of this text maybe just belongs in an about section or below your work, but again, it's kind of more of thinking about how do you structure that story, or thinking through how do people kind of navigate portfolio websites, if that makes sense. And it was kind of weird. I don't know if, again, I would probably rethink as well. I don't know if this is typical in graphic design, but what I've heard over and over is that if you have work, keep it within the site. Like the last thing you want to do is navigate somebody away from your website, especially when you have so much work in here, want to keep them focused in that portfolio website.
Yeah, and one last thing I want to mention. Let's scroll up to the section that says CV. I noticed that it's kind of like a paragraph, and for if you wanted to summarize your work achievements, I would just list it out as like your like the job title, company, like duration, and like maybe some responsibilities, because I think like because some people may have like such a limited time, they're unable to read like even a paragraph like that. So I just summarize some of your recent work accomplishments, and even those that have to do with design.
Do you think that's, I mean, at this point, well, I guess that would be kind of a different function, but like for getting an internship, for instance, you know, you've already sent your resume and then you have your website portfolio linked on your resume. Do you think it's redundant to have that listed on the portfolio website as well? Or do you think it should function on its own without having that resume sort of clinging to it, if that makes sense?
From my understanding, I'm just wondering if you're asking like, so you send out your resume to companies, but like your website is like already up. Is like, from my understanding, are you asking like, are you able to like make those changes to your website even though you sent out your resume to companies already?
No, I mean, like, is it redundant to have basically the things that are on my resume kind of pasted onto the website? Like, I have that CV section. Should I just get rid of that even? Since it's all that stuff is already on my resume and they've already read that, presumably, if they're visiting my website.
I don't think it's wrong to like bury it into your about page, but I don't think that there's any need to have it on the homepage.
Yeah, I think there should be a about page because I want to like get to know you more and like I want to see your face. That's like super important. Like I know you have these links to like LinkedIn and Behance and stuff, which you know are not really necessary on the nav menu. I think I want to see about, and you know, if you're having a CV, like I wouldn't even say a CV. I just want a paragraph about you and your experiences in design and like what you enjoy, and then what sets you apart from other graphic designers. And then just keeping the homepage about like your work and just keeping it simple. People overcomplicate portfolios so much when they're designers, especially like I think you just need to maybe reference like a couple of other people's portfolios that are doing pretty well and just see that they just literally show their work on their homepage, or like they highlight a couple of pieces that they want people to see, and then they have a my work or like a work page separate. So that's my 2 cents about homepages.
Okay, that
We
makes sense.
really should go on to the next one due to time. But this looks great, Rachel, and you're off to a great start.
Thank you, guys.
Can I say one final thing before we move on? It's just I think that you should see if you can connect with a developer either at your school or someone online to help you out with that underline and kind of making those statements about yourself appear in a more creative way on the homepage. I just think that would be a really fun project for some student developer to work on, this like graphic designer, illustrator, student, teacher segment, to do something more interesting there.
There's plenty of examples out there. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Do we have Henry in the house? Is Henry in the house? Awesome. Hi, Henry. Come on. Give us your 2-second spiel. Let me unmute you. Or one of the admins can do that.
Hi, can you hear me?
Awesome. I can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thank you for doing this. I really do appreciate it. A short spiel. I'm an internal auditor. I've been doing it for 4 years, but I want to get into product design. So basically my portfolio, I understand that hiring managers are really overwhelmed right now and stressed. So I try my best to exude my personality, using like cool tones, and try to put a lot of stuff in my about page as well, and try to keep my case studies a little simple, keep my design simple as well. So yeah, I just try to put as much personality as possible. I'm looking to get feedback on to see if my case study is a little bit wordy, how to reduce, because I do think my case studies I explain a lot. So looking for any advice on how to reduce some of the wording, and how to increase white space. So yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome. Thank you. Who wants to jump in first?
I can go. So let's go a bit up. I noticed that you have like your blurb, like, hello, I'm a product designer, etc. And then there's like these two like random links to Instagram and LinkedIn. So I noticed that as well for the footer that you have your Instagram and LinkedIn. So I would just like remove the buttons at the top and keep the ones at the footer. That's just like one small thing. And then secondly, don't click on like the navigation, but just like hover it because it changed color. I would see like another small thing is that because the hover, it's like it changes color to black. I would see if you could change the color to like another shade of like white or like even like a light gray, because just a hover, like the black on the blue, again, just like things of like accessibility and like color contrast. So those are like just two small things I noticed for your portfolio.
Yeah, kind of jumping off of that, there are so many other ways. You can either create an outline. I'm noticing a little bit of motion here in terms of like the images kind of become bigger as I scroll. That could be something that, that's another way to indicate hover states, is you make something bigger on hover without even changing the color. So look into some inspirations in terms of consistency and cohesiveness too, right? Like you want to make sure your portfolio kind of all just feels like it's one cohesive experience. So yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's jump into one of the projects. Y'all want me to jump into the sign buddies, don't you? Let's do it. Let's do it. A lot of process work, which is good, just as a quick glance, because I know people kind of do this. Unfortunately, they don't take a long time to kind of go over their stuff unless they want to, which is good from a storytelling perspective. I want to see your process in terms of where you're grabbing stats, seeing a little bit of sketching, which is good. I would say, if you haven't already, I would also like to see maybe how do you go from A to B. I know we go from really rough sketch to like high fidelity. I'm wondering if there was like a step in between in terms of like testing or anything else, like mood boards or something in between, right? I think we tend to jump into conclusions a little bit too quick, but that's okay. Otherwise, I do like that you're kind of giving us the storytelling portion, which is the important part when it comes to portfolio pieces.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with Maggie. I love how you kind of show the process and like storytelling. I think I've actually been to a couple of like professional recruiter sessions, and I've kind of seen their perspective on like looking at UX designers, and I noticed that you do have a lot of copy, and a great way of just breaking down that copy is like either creating a sense of hierarchy or just listing things sometimes that are really important information, or bolding things in the paragraph for them to like know what to like take out of that information, because it is a lot of information. And I noticed you do that a little bit, but I think like if you continuously like do that a little bit more and like break down the information better, so they can know what to look at, because that's recruiters don't like spend like they spend like maybe like a couple minutes on like looking at 1 or 2 projects, and that's just helpful for their eyes to see. And I like that you're doing it a little bit on some of your projects. Like you have like titles and stuff, but when it has these like big like paragraphs, like just think about like what are they getting out of that one paragraph? Like what are they trying to get out of that? So that's just something to slow down their reading, and then just they can quickly grab information.
Okay.
One way it is to highlight. Another trick I've learned, dump all your text into Grammarly.com. It'll give you an average of how long it takes for somebody to go through your portfolio. For your case study. And if it's starting to get into like that 10-minute mark, definitely worth thinking about, what can I cut down, or how do I reframe this in a way that is, I don't sound as fluff, because again, we tend to add fluff, which again, part of the storytelling. And again, get a second pair of eyes to carefully scan through all of this. You don't even need to have it live. Just again, dump all of this into like a Word doc and have somebody just kind of glance it over, make comments like, hey, you can totally say this in a different way, or hey, you can chop this in half, right? We're kind of looking to be to leave something that is quick and easy to scan, and if somebody wants to dig into the details, they still have that ability without overwhelming them. And I do agree with Sara. I feel like some of the text is lacking a little bit of visual hierarchy in terms of this text. I feel like it should be much smaller than this text, just because it relates to this image and is probably not as important. So small things to kind of think about, small tweaks, but I think process-wise, the process is there. It's more of the storytelling piece at this point. And how do you present it?
Okay, thank you.
I also want to quickly point out with this the Maestro makeup project, really small, but your leading between lines isn't the same as your other projects. So something might have just gotten messed up with your CSS. You might want to double check that.
Okay. Oh, you're talking about the line spacing in the paragraphs?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yep.
Where's that one paragraph? Yeah, it just feels a little bit tight, which makes it a little bit hard to read as well.
Yeah, I think something with that content is you could also consider, you're having too many paragraphs, is that you could consider more white space to help break them up more and give them each their own, help them kind of stand out from each other individually instead of being one long, this, like if you stop right here at the research and scroll down, we just have this really long chunk of paragraph where it's broken up a little bit, but if you add a bit more spacing in there, it could help highlight those bold moments a bit more clearly.
Yeah, and again, another thing, don't be afraid to play around with layout, but don't let that be the main focus. Like, I could totally see this being 2 columns, like this paragraph is here and this paragraph is here. Again, kind of depends on the content, but that's one way to think about, like, saving somebody to have to scroll a lot and still providing that same storytelling.
Okay. Yeah, I do have to work on presenting things in organized fashion, because I do understand not a lot of people be reading this stuff. So the better the visual hierarchy is, the better it'll be for me. So yeah, I do agree.
Yeah, and again, this is for everybody. One of the things I've kind of learned.
I do have one question though. About I'm curious to see what you guys think about the about page. Is it like a little bit too random, or like I'm curious to see when you go through it, like what kind of impression do you get out of what I present? Because I put a mood board there, put a little bit of how I got into product design. I put some of my favorite books, so I'm just curious what you guys think.
I would say, like, I looked at this actually. I want to see more of your face. Your face is a little like circle at the top, and I want to see like your it's more about you. So just break down the information better with, again, hierarchy, condensing the information a little bit so they know what they're looking at. Like, I need like some like titles or whatever. There's just a lot of text. I think you could break that down a little bit more. I like that you're getting into like how you got into this design, which is great. I just think you need to work on the structure of it a little bit more.
Yeah, again, kind of going back to what we said earlier, this is your opportunity to kind of tie in. Why me? What is it about me that I kind of bring in that makes me the perfect candidate for that job? What are some of the things that inspire me that I do on the side that just make me unique? And how does that relate back into my work, my values, my process even? And if you're not answering those questions, then maybe you need to reevaluate, does it belong in my portfolio at all?
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
I think also one thing to keep in mind is when you're designing a portfolio, and this goes for everyone who's presented and anyone who's working on their portfolio, keep in mind that you're designing for hiring managers and recruiters. So keep them in mind when you design your portfolios.
1000%.
Cool. Thank you, everyone, for your feedback.
Thank you for participating. Awesome. Any last minute questions that we can answer or talk about? I know we're almost at time, but I'm sure we can answer maybe one quick question.
From me or for anyone in the chat?
Anyone in the chat, or if you have one.
Okay. No, I don't have any questions. Thank you so much for going through the portfolio. Really helpful advice.
Absolutely. And again, it's a work in progress. Portfolios are never done. So if you're looking for more, and this goes for anybody, if you're ever wanting more feedback as you go, as you should, feel free to reach out to mentors, reach out to ADP list people. Design feedback is also another great channel to get feedback. We're here to help as much as we possibly can. And then just don't wait until it's pretty to get feedback. Like you want to capture as much as you can before you finalize and make it final, because then it's too late and I feel like a lot of people feel attached. Awesome. What are your thoughts on PDF portfolio versus a personal website? Depends how it's structured. I've heard, as long as you're showing your work and it's easy to reach. For example, don't if it's in like a Google Drive, if it's on Dropbox, as long as somebody can access it, it's probably fine. I've heard both hiring managers we just want to see your work, we just want to see your process. Personal website definitely allows for more freedom in terms of what you put in there and how people can navigate through the website. Kind of allows somebody to just kind of do whatever they want. PDF portfolios, I feel like you have a little bit more control on how you tell that narrative.
Yeah, I agree with Maggie. I feel like a lot of PDF portfolios are great for, especially if you're in an interview, and you already have like this established portfolio that's telling the story of your work and like who you are. You can reuse it, but also like I think PDF portfolios are mainly used for customizing like to a particular industry. Like if you're applying to a job that's maybe like in the tech industry, or like the tech industry. Let's give that as an example. You can use like that to have like the pieces that are maybe relative to the job description. Or if you're a graphic designer, I know a lot of graphic designers like maybe applied to something that's more print based like job or something that's more digital based. I've applied to jobs like that are in the industry that require more digital like skill sets. So I think those are just allowing for more customization for that particular job. But I think it's really important to have that personal website, and like that will help you hone in on like what you're looking for as a job, and what kind of like portfolio pieces that you want to work on in the future. Because I know for graphic designers, when they're doing a website, they want to work on pieces that in an industry that they want to work in. So yeah, that's just the PDF portfolio versus personal website.
The important thing also is to get your work out there and be able to talk about your work is a long way. So the more you talk about it, show it to your friends, family, designers, whoever, the more confidence you build in yourself talking about your work, the better off you'll be and more prepared for interviews.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything that's been said. With that said, we are a little bit over, so I really appreciate everybody who swung by to be a listener, to present your portfolio. It takes a lot of courage. You are on the right track. Keep on it, right? I really do appreciate everybody also hanging and just hanging there with technical support. This is our first time doing this through Discord, so we're trying to figure out all the kinks, and we appreciate the support and you kind of bearing with us. So lots of love there. We couldn't do this without you. Again, best of luck to everybody. Reach out. And again, thank you for swinging by, and don't be a stranger. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day and weekend. And, go out, have fun, take a break. You did a lot.
Also, I want to mention to everybody, feel free, like, if you're working on your portfolios, to, like, share it in our channels, like, ask for feedback. Do you guys, I know I'm not very well versed in the channels, but if you guys can tell, like, direct admins, like, what channels they can post in to ask for feedback, and we can get, like, mentors or anybody professionally can get back to you.
Yeah, and don't forget to check out the resources that a lot of people posted in the chat. So the more resources, the better. And yeah, like we said, don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and keep at it. You're on the right track. The first step is always the hardest, and it's a journey. It's not a sprint. Alright, so I will take that as nobody else has any other comments. But yeah, time to say goodbye. Again, thank you for swinging by. Don't be afraid to check out the rest of the channels. Otherwise, we are done. We are finite. No more. We're good for today, guys. Thanks, everybody. As Grace is saying, thanks, everybody.
Thank you all for coming. If you would like to have more events, we are thinking of doing this either once or twice a month, and Saturdays 10 a.m. or Mondays through Fridays, or Monday through Thursday 5 p.m. Pacific time. And we'll have you all vote as well. So I'll put that vote up soon. So yeah, make sure to vote and let us know how frequent you would like these, what time you would like these, and if you're working as a full-time UX, product, graphic, any type of designer, DM me and I'll make that happen. Yeah, bye everyone. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks everybody. Can you guys hear me, by the way? Oh,
Yeah,
I guess my
yeah, I
audio's not
can.
working.
Wait, we can hear you.